Something special is happening at the Leicester Royal Infirmary. In August 1994, the hospital embarked on a 2-year re-engineering program to literally reinvent the way that it provides healthcare to its patients and carries out teaching and research activities. The task is daunting. The Leicester Royal Infirmary is one of the biggest and most complex hospitals in Britain. Every year, it takes care of 360,000 outpatients and 57,000 inpatients. The hospital's accident and emergency department sees 110,000 patients a year. Nearly 80% of inpatient admissions are emergencies. The re-engineering program seeks to bring about dramatic improvements in the services offered to all these patients. The aim is to achieve the hospital's mission of becoming the best teaching hospital in the country with an outstanding reputation for its healthcare delivery, teaching and research activities. The Leicester Royal Infirmary undertook a year-long analysis of how it provided healthcare. Despite the fact that the hospital was considered an efficient provider of healthcare, the analysis showed enormous potential for improvement. The conclusion was that making changes in individual departments or clinical specialities was not enough. Only redesign across the organization would bring the sustained performance improvements required to meet the hospital's mission.
To me, re-engineering differs in its radical qualities, and I think we've experienced those in 2 respects. One is the way in which we approached our program with the concept that we would like to redesign our hospital from scratch. And the second is the extent of the program. There must be few hospitals in the world that have attempted to change all of a piece instead of piecemeal.
A large teaching hospital such as this has grown up over the years, and what we've seen is a process almost of organic growth with add-on activities as new technologies come online, as new forms of treatment and diagnosis are carried out. But also as a hospital like this has developed from being a large district general hospital into a teaching hospital. So completely different activities with rather different objectives, such as teaching and research, have been slotted in to an already complex organisation. And of course, the processes which apply to a moderate-sized hospital in the 50s, 60s and 70s are by no means appropriate to those of a large and very complex institution in the 1990s. So it is extremely important to look again at what's going on. But simply because of the complexity of the institution, this is not really very effective if you do it on an ad hoc basis. So I think the general philosophy of looking again at the whole institution, how it works, how it meets its new objectives for the 1990s, is extremely important.
The re-engineering program has focused on redesigning healthcare processes. A process is the journey that the patient makes through the hospital, beginning and ending in primary care. The Leicester Royal Infirmary has also redesigned the clinical support processes, such as diagnostic testing, medication and operating theatres, and management processes, such as information and supplies, which support the patient's experience. This approach is leading to step changes rather than incremental improvements and to tangible, sustainable results.
In terms of improving the quality of the service which we provide, I think much time is wasted within the hospital in all sorts of different ways. Time wasted by our patients in waiting for treatment, time wasted by our staff in patients not being available for the treatment at various times. Re-engineering is a way of addressing these issues, and it's important that we do. On the issue of money, every year we are required to make efficiency gains by the National Health Service. That takes the form of either taking some money away from us or asking us to do more work, and sometimes a combination of both. That happens year after year after year. I call it the death by 1,000 cuts. It's what one might call a bacon slicer approach to the financing of this hospital. And it does not result in the ambition of making better use of money. because it means that we pair our services here and there, not necessarily in a basic and fundamental way. And I don't think it's conducive to good patient care. What we are trying to do through re-engineering is to make much better use of our money by making a really fundamental, taking a fundamental review of the way in which we provide health care, and in so doing, release money for use in other parts of healthcare. What we are not doing, and I emphasize this very, very strongly, we are not cutting the funds available for healthcare. We're attempting to make much better use of the money that is available to us.
The Leicester Royal Infirmary has embarked upon nearly 100 separate re-engineering projects during the 2-year programme. Healthcare processes have been redesigned by teams of hospital staff seconded from their normal jobs. Up to 50 staff have been working full-time on the re-engineering programme at any one time. They include nurses, technicians, therapists, doctors, clerks and managers. In addition, many hundreds of staff are working to advise on and implement the changes. Patients, GPs and purchasers have also made important contributions to help the Leicester Royal Infirmary move towards fulfilling its mission. We will look at the achievements in 6 of the hospital's re-engineering projects. Early analysis showed that diagnostic testing was a major cause of concern for outpatients. As a result, we opened the Balmoral Test Centre, an outpatient diagnostic testing centre where 80% of tests, including basic X-rays, electrocardiograms, phlebotomy and chemical pathology, are carried out by multi-skilled testers. The guaranteed time from the clinician requesting the test to receiving the results is just 1 hour. The testers operate as a truly self-directed team.
The benefits for patients in the Balmoral Test Centre have been that the previous process required a turnaround time of 79 hours for a routine test, and we've tracked that down now to 40 minutes. The other benefits are the reduction in the number of visits a patient has to have for just an outpatient visit. A patient now turns up to see the doctor having the test done at the time prior to seeing the doctor, and can have the diagnosis and the treatment effected within 1 visit. Prior to that, it could take up to 4 weeks. We've now targeted that down to 2 hours.
Well, the work I used to do before, I was a cardiographer on all the medical wards and surgical wards, and that was solely the job. Now, I have been trained to do many skills, which really has enhanced my working life tremendously. I thoroughly enjoy it, and keen to learn more if I can. The targets that we actually go for, we actually surpass, and we've done very, very well. We're hoping to actually make more clinics available to us so that we can open earlier in the morning, stay open a bit later at night, whatever they want. We can do it.
Prior to re-engineering, many job roles were narrow and restricted. The way that the jobs were set up meant that no one was able to take complete responsibility for the patient's total experience. A key aspect of the re-engineering programme has been to develop new job roles which reflect and support the patient journey through the hospital. An example is the role of clinic coordinator.
The principle behind the clinic coordinator was to introduce one individual who was responsible for the total outpatient process.
The role of the clinic coordinator is different from the role that I did before as a clinic clerk, because you actually see the process all the way through, from receiving the GP letter to preparing the notes, finding the notes, to being on the clinic. Whereas in the olden days you'd have different people being on appointments, you'd have different people finding the notes and different people being on the clinic.
That means that we can speed up the time that it takes to get a patient an appointment from the time of referral by the GP, as well as ensuring that we've got continuity for the patient and a point of contact for the GP.
You have more information, more things click into place, you remember the patients more, and where the case notes have disappeared to, and or which doctor toddled off with them under their arm. That is better. You know a lot more that you're talking about, and you're not relying on other people. You're totally self-reliant. So if the clinic isn't correct, then it's your own fault.
From the individual's perspective, from the clinic coordinator, I think the benefits are that they are now seen as part of a team who are key in providing a vital service in the outpatient setting.
The advice I would give other hospitals, if they're setting up this role, is to have detailed discussions with the clinic coordinators in advance so they know what the process will be, because we were all very worried about the change, and at the end of the day we didn't need to be.
Re-engineering the orthopaedic process has led to improvements in every stage of the patient process, from emergency entry through the accident and emergency department, inpatient stay, emergency operating theatre processes, to patient review in the fracture clinic.
When we re-engineered the orthopaedic process, we started with the staff from a standpoint where I think people felt that things couldn't get any worse and that there was only things could only get better. So we had a lot of enthusiasm, and we had a lot of people that wanted to participate within the process.
There are two main areas that we've looked at within the accident emergency department, looking at the process for orthopaedic patients. The first area is at the triage desk when patients are initially assessed. If they have a simple fracture, they will be sent direct to X-ray following first aid, and then will be seen by the doctor with the available X-rays. The second area concentrates on patients that attend with hip injuries or possible fractured neck or femur. These patients go direct to X-ray following assessment from the nurse, and then are reassessed with X-rays by the doctor. This has hopefully improved the prognosis for patients attending with these injuries by speeding up the process.
The benefits really for the patients are, I think, that hopefully their needs are going to be met a lot better than they were before, because we've got a different skill mix to meet those needs. The patients are being nursed in smaller teams with their own sort of teams of nurses, and sort of the anecdotal evidence we get from the nurses is that they feel that working in a smaller team helps them to sort of team build, and their teamwork has improved, and generally they find it more satisfying.
The other area we've looked at is the whole area of theatres and access of patients to theatres, and that's an ongoing scheme. One problem with orthopaedics being entirely emergency-led is that you cannot make absolute predictions as to the number of patients you will have to operate upon within a set period of time. So various pilots have been looked at in terms of scheduling and prioritising patients, and there are some encouraging moves in that front, and I hope that will be successful as well.
Due to the nature of the orthopaedic work we do at the Leicester Royal Infirmary, being trauma, not elective orthopaedic work, the workload is unpredictable. So what we've done is allocated the patients differently, and we look at which consultant has the smallest list on the week that the patient needs to come back for their first clinic appointment, and then they get allocated under the care of that consultant. This helps to smooth the number of patients in each clinic so that we get a consistent number of patients in each clinic on each day of the week. There's been a dramatic improvement in the waiting time at the clinic. It's improved by almost 50%, the wait time to see the doctor.
Changes in the orthopaedic patient process have brought changes in managerial responsibility. The traditional business manager role has been replaced by that of patient process director.
The difference between being a patient process director and a business manager is about being accountable for the patient along the process. So it isn't about managing within departments, it's about managing across departments. The business manager was very much about controlling and directing people, where the patient process director is about trying to facilitate and coach people to reach their potential.
The changes have also had an impact on the work of medical staff.
These changes within the orthopaedic unit have made a dramatic difference to the medical staff within the unit. And I think one thing that many people throughout the hospital are astounded at is the way that we have embraced many of these changes. We have changed our working practices, and we ourselves, I think, now have a vision for a better orthopaedic unit. And I think that vision has come through the change that has been possible within the re-engineering programme.
Redesigning the healthcare process for ear, nose and throat patients has led to dramatic improvements. The whole patient experience, from referral by general practitioner, outpatient visit, inpatient stay to review, has been redesigned. For some groups of ENT patients, length of stay has been reduced by 30 to 50%. Care roles have been redesigned to ensure that the same member of staff looks after the patient at every stage, from outpatient visit to discharge.
The ENT process redesign came about using various very important people. Firstly, the patients. Secondly, the staff, and that included a variety of staff. That was nursing staff, medical staff, porters, domestics, and that was important to capture their perception of what ENT was about. The redesign also came about for us observing what was actually needed by staff and by patients, and that built up a big new picture for the new process.
One of the other things that we actually looked at was physically getting patients down to theatre, putting them through theatre and then taking them back to the ward. Part of the problem here with dealing with these patients was moving them, relying on porterage staff. So as a refinement not only to admitting patients to hospital the same day as their operation, we also thought it would be perfectly feasible to admit them directly to theatre, providing all of the appropriate medical and nursing work had been done beforehand. These were patients who were young, who were fit, and who didn't need extensive medical investigation.
This enhances the continuity of care, and what that means is that there is one nurse that is fully responsible for the care of that patient, all the way through from the visit in the outpatients, right the way through to discharge. That also means there's benefits for the nursing staff. It enhances the skills, it increases their job satisfaction, but also they can work much closer with the patient and see themselves very much more as a team.
My role is developing all the time, especially with the new process from re-engineering. I'm learning new skills on recovery training, learning how to assess my patient properly, and working with the patient closely and trying to follow them from the end-to-end process.
As part of the ENT process, we are undertaking a training programme in recovery so that we will be able to recover our own patients and therefore see them through from admission, or rather pre-clerking, to discharge. This training programme is open to all trained nurses, the enrolled nurses and any junior new staff that join the team.
As a former porter, my role has developed a lot. I'm now a team associate and I'm now a multi-skilled person who now does administration, nursing and portering as well.
Some of the biggest things that we've come across is actually facing traditions that we've lived with for many, many years, and we've had to question what we've been doing and look at things in a different way to see if they've been right for the patients. Obviously, this has caused some unrest because we've been living with this tradition for a long time.
One of the main things that came out of the pilot wasn't particularly what the medical staff thought of it or what the nursing staff thought of it, but it was what the patients actually thought. They considered that the process was much, much better than that had gone beforehand.
Enhancements on the patient process model tested in ENT are now being developed by teams of staff for many other patient groups. These include children, gynecology, general surgery, and plastic surgery. Re-engineering the patient medication process has led to the creation of a new service, the near-patient clinical pharmacist.
The project originated out of a series of meetings from a multidisciplinary group. Representatives on this group came from the medical staff, the nursing staff and the pharmacy staff, and we all got together to brainstorm the problems around the medication process. Now, the medication process is the whole process to everything dealing with medication use within the hospital. So this involves those three healthcare groups. And one of the projects was the near-patient clinical pharmacist. This was identified as a way of addressing many of the problems identified with the current process.
My activities in the new scheme have changed somewhat in that I now take and review patients' medication histories and confirm that they tally with what's previously been documented. I can save the junior doctors a considerable amount of time by writing the prescription sections of patients' discharge letters, and that means that their discharge medication is available in a more timely fashion. And also I have far more time now whereby I can counsel patients on their medicines and allay any worries that they might have about their treatment.
The benefits to patients are very much that they haven't found any delays with their discharge. The medication is obviously on the ward and patients can be discharged fairly promptly. Plus, as well as that, we actually have a cost saving because we reuse patients' own medication that they've brought in with them. The benefits for my nurses on the ward are very much twofold. One, the education role, because our near-patient clinical pharmacist has obviously had quite an input with regard to education for the nurses and for the patients. Obviously, with having this role on the ward, we've saved a considerable amount of time for nurses, and this time can be allocated elsewhere.
The benefits of a near-patient pharmacist to medical staff are, firstly, the drug charts very rarely leave the wards, which makes managing the patients from day to day much easier. Secondly, we have a pharmacist on most of our ward rounds, which means we have information at our fingertips. And thirdly, the pharmacist helps with day-to-day administrative tasks like writing TTO letters and rewriting drug charts, which eases the burden on junior medical staff.
The near-patient clinical pharmacist has caused an increase in the compliance with the drugs policy, the prescribing aspect of the drugs policy, such that compliance now is significantly higher, which of course will reduce the chance of drug errors and therefore has direct risk management implications.
Another development from the medication process has been the clinical distributor service. Previously, separate pathology and pharmacy porters made journeys across the hospital at irregular times, collecting specimens and requests and delivering results and drugs. As a result of re-engineering, the services were combined and an additional radiology distribution system added. The daily number of delivery rounds has been increased and the service extended to 7 days a week.
Well, I think it's all credit to management, really, because the whole team has been involved ever since the conception. We've all got together, we've had various meetings. We're actually involved in the designing of the trolley. The whole team had input, and we got together with the manufacturers, and this is the result as you see in front of you.
Supplies and stock management is an example of a re-engineered management process. Redesign has led to improved reliability and efficiency, as well as significant cost savings.
There's three main areas that we're looking at in re-engineering the supplies process. The first one of these is implementing a materials management system across the hospital for stock and non-stock products. We are doing this by using handheld terminals to capture information and downloading them into our system.
The new materials management system within the central operating department, I feel, has given certain advantages, such as a more coordinated ordering process. We now have the experts coming in and ordering for us on a weekly basis on a number of lines. Because of the regularity of the ordering, it's meant that diminished stock can be held, which has freed up some valuable space within the department. And also one would hope that long term it will also realise some cost benefits.
The second area is actually looking at the requisition process itself, and one of the most frequent comments is that it does actually take a long time for a requisition to proceed through the system. We're actually looking, because we're a very paper-orientated department, at ways in which we can reduce the handoffs of the paper going through the system, and indeed in instances where we don't really need paper at all. The third area that we're looking at is implementing an aggressive purchasing strategy for the Trust. What we're actually doing is targeting specific areas which we feel that we can achieve savings, and we are targeting those savings, and that's the basis of our negotiation with our suppliers.
Patients have played a key role in the re-engineering programme. They've participated in surveys and focus groups. They've completed diaries to tell us of their experiences and views of the healthcare process. An important contribution has been made by the hospital's Patients' Council. This group, comprising patients, most of whom are previously complainants, and carers, has met regularly during the course of the re-engineering programme to help redesign the hospital's patient processes.
Collectively, we were able to put ideas
we had I think the first meeting, we were impressed by the fact that we were given just a clean sheet, as it were, with no expenses barred, to give the ideas, to start us off. And then collectively we were able to sift them through and come up with what we're doing at the moment.
That was the evening we were asked about the question of tests and outpatients, and we invented this wonderful outpatients area where everybody could come and have all their tests without having to wander all over the hospital. And everybody could see their consultant and go back to their consultant, and they would come to the patients rather than the patients having to rush about following blue lines or whatever to other places. And I think, we think you did that in the Balmoral Centre. Carry on.
I think it would be very easy for an organisation the size of the Leicester Royal Infirmary to make all sorts of wonderful improvements in the service from the hospital's point of view. And if you haven't got that patient's dimension that says, now hold on a minute, that might be wonderful for the hospital, but it's not much good for the patients, then you're on a hiding to nothing. And I think the value of the Patients' Council is that the hospital benefits from hearing what it's like to be on the end of this process.
For the long waiting lists that originally we experienced, but now have been considerably cut down, with exceptions, of course, when doctors are called out. We understand that, but I think with being part of it, you understand the difficulties that the doctors experience and the nurses, and the doctors experience the difficulties that the patients have.
The Leicester Royal Infirmary has made significant gains through its re-engineering programme. However, despite the planning and preparation prior to the start of the programme, it continues to prove a difficult undertaking. Re-engineering challenges the very core of the way in which healthcare services have traditionally been organised.
There have been a number of obstacles, and they include trying to, if you like, create tomorrow at the same time as managing and delivering today. And that a hospital the size of the Leicester Royal Infirmary in essence has many wide-ranging plans. And in normal times, those themselves will be very stretching objectives to fulfil. In addition to that, we have chosen to take forward the re-engineering programme, which in itself is a major change and a major piece of work. And to accomplish that at the same time as the other pieces of work have been very stretching for all of us concerned.
There is within the old culture of the National Health Service a council of perfection, that the attitude that says, I'm not going to change from what I do now unless you offer me something which is perfect. What we need to do is persuade people who have got good ideas that it doesn't matter if they fail. If we can test out those ideas, enough of the ideas will succeed so that we can move forward in those, and that those people who do have ideas which fail, we compliment them on their idea.
It's very easy to drift on into partial change and delay and postponement, but a rapid process of change set against very defined time schedules can be much more effective than an open commitment to change.
The scale of our programme is such that project management has assumed a crucial significance. It is all too easy for the number of projects that have been ongoing and their scale for things to slip, for momentum to be lost, and for people to become demotivated.
A key aspect is managing the transition from the hospital of the past to the hospital of the future. It's something that the re-engineering textbooks don't really warn you to expect. The hospital doesn't suddenly change overnight as a result of re-engineering. There are so many aspects to the change. New approaches to patient care, team working arrangements, revised clinical roles, a completely different way of looking at leadership and management. These aren't things that you can change simply in weeks and months. They may take many years to embed in the organisation. It's almost as though people need to go through a psychological process of change. So, Re-engineering can be slow, it can be difficult and painful. It can also be very fast, exhilarating, exciting. Overall, I feel that we've made tremendous progress with the re-engineering programme and are truly on course to reinvent the way that we provide healthcare.
The Leicester Royal Infirmary is on course to implement fully its re-engineering changes by the end of 1997. We hope that other healthcare purchasers and providers will be able to draw upon the lessons we have learnt.
Equally important as the quality gains which have resulted from re-engineering specific processes is the quite significant culture change which has occurred within our organisation. As a National Health Service organisation, we face a future of continuing change. Re-engineering is not a one-off exercise. What re-engineering has done is enabled us to embrace a culture of ongoing change which will stand us in very good stead for the future.
If you ask me what the key success factors of our programme have been, then high on my list would be absolute commitment on the part of senior management and clinical leadership amongst clinicians.
Re-engineering can be seen as a tremendous threat to nursing because it challenges the traditional thinking of the nurse. However, what it has done is provided tremendous opportunities for nursing to develop its scope of practice and influence, and in particular influencing both clinical and managerial skills. More recently, it's provided the opportunity to open career doors for nursing, career doors that have never been there in the past, and nurses have been successful in being appointed to some of the very senior posts which have developed through the re-engineering process.
The next stage for the Leicester Royal Infirmary is continuing to achieve the hospital's bold and ambitious mission statement. This will result in excellent healthcare delivery, teaching and research. We've made a great start. We look forward to the future.
You get up every morning and go to work. But do you really enjoy your work? Do you find it satisfying and rewarding? Do you like the environment at your place of work? It is easy to take a negative attitude towards your work and your work environment. But this will be of no benefit to you or your organization. On the other hand, a positive way of thinking and of meeting challenges can greatly improve your working situation. In this video, we would like to show you how such improvements can be made. We have selected 10 topics, and we will explain why we think they are important. We hope they will help you to understand your role in the organization.
I'm tired. Feels like a cold. Oh, what shall I do? I won't go to work today. Oh, I don't really care.
Maybe you feel that being absent from work once in a while is excusable. But have you ever stopped to think why this attitude is wrong?
I think we should remember that we are employees working in an organization which is paying us a salary. We should never forget that.
If anyone's late or absent, the atmosphere is disrupted and work can't proceed smoothly. This is why I try never to be late or absent.
Being late or absent is not just your problem. For example, you may miss an important briefing in the morning, and when you report to work, you will not be able to carry out your duties without consulting someone else. Your supervisor will have to tell you what was discussed in the morning, and that is a waste of precious time. There may also be a lot of confusion and inconvenience caused because someone else has to take over your duties. This can disrupt the whole work process. You must bear in mind that all employees in an organization, including yourself, have to perform their own individual duties. If you have to take time off to attend to some urgent business, or you have come down with a bout of flu or illness, you should inform your superior as soon as possible. Someone else will have to take over your duties, and being unfamiliar with your set of duties, they will not be able to perform well. Your absence or coming late will affect the general atmosphere at your workplace.
Why is punctuality and good attendance important? 1. If you are late or absent, somebody else will have to perform your duties. 2. The atmosphere at the place of work will be affected to a certain extent.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In an organization, every worker or employee plays a vital role. Everyone, including yourself, has an important task to perform. The exchange of greetings is nothing more than being courteous and acknowledging the existence of one another. You should make an effort to greet others and also acknowledge them if they make the first move. You see, it's not nice to be ignored. Work does not depend on individuals alone, but on a team. The exchange of greetings helps in establishing good working relationships. You may not be able to do better than your superiors in the quality, quantity and speed of your work, but you can be cheerful when exchanging greetings and give the impression that you are doing your best. Being courteous is one way in which you can shine.
Why is the exchange of greetings important? 1. It is necessary for the creation of a comfortable workplace and for establishing good working relationships. 2. These are messages of recognition and acceptance of one another. Points on exchanging greetings. 1. You should extend your greetings cheerfully and clearly. 2. You needn't feel inferior when you greet your superiors. They may be very good at their work, but you can be the best in giving hearty greetings. Being courteous can only reflect well on your character. 3. When someone greets you, you should respond promptly and positively.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, you should wear your uniform properly.
Huh?
In general, it is said that people who have a tidy appearance and dress neatly are well organized, more efficient, and good workers. Untidily dressed people are often said to be disorganized and tend to do slipshod work.
Did you hear that? Other people's opinions about you may be based on your overall appearance. You should dress neatly to give a good impression of yourself. And also remember that if you dress untidily and carelessly, it can lead to accidents. Taking a keen interest in your personal appearance can even be a safety measure.
Why is a neat and tidy appearance important? 1. Clothes should be worn to suit the work you are doing. 2. An untidily dressed person is more likely to meet with accidents. 3. Untidiness can have a bad effect on the way you work. Points on appearance and clothes. 1. Button your shirt or dress properly. 2. Footwear should be properly worn and check your laces are tied. 3. Use hard hats and caps properly. 4. You should dress according to the time, place, and work.
Oh? The pliers? Where are they? Can't find them. They're not here. Nishiyama?
Yes?
Come over here.
What's the matter?
Do you know where the pliers are? You used them yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, they're here, aren't they?
No, they're not.
That's funny.
Ah, if he carries on like this, they won't let him use any of the tools.
The workplace doesn't belong to you alone. Your colleagues share the tools with you, so you should organise the place well and keep the tools in their proper places.
If you can't keep the workplace well organized, you'll waste a lot of time looking for things, and this can cause a lot of delay and inconvenience. And if the tools and equipment you use at work are not well maintained, the quality of your work will be affected.
I think there are many reasons why good organization in the workplace is important. Let me give you some examples. In your daily work, if you can't find your tools, your work comes to a standstill. You must try and avoid such situations, because valuable time is wasted by unnecessary delays. You don't want to spend most of the time looking for your tools. And another point is that accidents are more likely to occur in an untidy workplace. So you should keep your workplace clean to minimize accidents. I think that keeping your place of work well organized is one of the basic factors in production.
It should now be clear why keeping the workplace well organized is something that should not be taken lightly, especially in the production department. So what do we mean by a well-organized workplace? The first important point is deciding which things you need and which things you don't. You must get rid of the things that you don't need. The next point is to keep everything in the right place. There should be permanent shelves for all your tools. In a well-organized workplace, you can find the necessary tools and parts when you need them, and you won't have to panic if there is an emergency. A place for everything, and everything in its place. The third point you must remember is to keep the workplace clean and tidy. In order to make sure that your machines and other equipment operate at maximum efficiency, you must provide proper care and maintenance. And if you keep everything clean at all times, you will easily be able to detect any leakage of oil or loose screws, and you can attend to them immediately before any serious damage is done. These are the 3 essential points for creating a well-organized workplace. If you keep the 3 keeps in mind, you will have a clean and efficient working environment.
Why is good organization important? 1. A well-organized workplace ensures the smooth flow of work. 2. Wastage of time and manpower looking for tools is avoided. 3. Unnecessary damage is avoided if everything is kept properly in its place. Points on good organization. 1. Keep only the things you need. 2. Keep tools in the right place. 3. Keep the workplace clean and tidy.
Nishiyama!
Yes?
You used a 10mm screw, didn't you? But I told you to use a 12mm screw. Why didn't you follow my instructions?
I'm sorry, but, well, we've run out of 12mm screws, and I thought it'd be all right because I've used a similar 10mm screw before, you see.
But we're now using 12mm screws for strength. The standards have changed. There are reasons for my instructions. And you must follow them. So, be careful.
Your superiors know about the latest regulations and also have more work experience than you do. They have to ensure that no mistakes or accidents occur and also have to take into consideration the high standards the other sections, and indeed the whole company, are trying to achieve. You should therefore listen to what your superiors say. However, this does not mean that you should do only those things you have been told to do. If you have opinions or suggestions, you should share them with your superiors.
Why is it necessary to follow instructions? 1. Your superiors know more about the latest regulations and have more experience than you do. They want you to perform well and ensure that there are no accidents or mistakes. 2. Your superiors have the whole company in mind when they make decisions and give instructions. Receiving instructions. 1. If there are things that you don't understand, you must ask and seek clarification before you start work. 2. Listen carefully. 3. Repeat the instructions aloud to check if you have got them right. This will help you avoid mistakes. 4. If you are not clear about something, don't make your own decisions, but check with your superior immediately.
Oh, goodbye. Oh, Nishiyama.
Well, where shall we go then?
Oh, what's the matter with you? Depressed?
Well, actually, I made a mistake in the adjustment of the machine. I noticed the mistake a bit later, but I didn't do anything. I couldn't tell the supervisor, and he really told me off when he found out.
Look at this. Look here. In the adjustment, you must have made a mistake.
I'm sorry.
Didn't you notice?
Yes, I did.
Well, why didn't you report it at once?
I'm sorry.
Why was Nishiyama's supervisor so angry? It was not because of the mistake, but because he didn't report it when it happened. Mistakes can sometimes be made by even very experienced staff, but not reporting them immediately can cause irreparable damage. If the supervisor is contacted at once when something goes wrong, he may be able to stop further damage and can advise you how to proceed.
There are some workers who often report, and there are others who don't. But I feel I can trust those workers who report often better than those who don't. I also think that it is a part of their duty to submit reports regularly in order to ensure that our work proceeds smoothly. Problems are usually created by workers who don't understand the importance of regular reporting.
Excuse me?
Yes?
I'm off to the warehouse.
Right.
I'll be back soon.
Okay. That's right. Whenever you leave your work position, you must inform somebody else, as you never know when you may receive an emergency call or be required for an urgent meeting.
Why is regular reporting important? 1. To make it easier for your superiors to provide the right orders or advice so that you can complete your work. 2. To keep your supervisor informed on your work is part of your duties, and so this is not something you can take lightly. Points on regular reporting. 1. Report mistakes at once so that your superiors can attend to them immediately. 2. When you make an oral or written report, you should keep to the point. 3. You must report to your superiors immediately, even if you think it is only a small matter.
Ishiyama, what do you think?
Well, I have to deal with lots of parts that are more or less the same size as well. And I'm always faced with the same problem when I use them.
I see. Miss Hashizume, I wonder if you have any problems that you want to tell us about.
Well, not really.
During a meeting, if most of the people present don't make any comment or talk about their problems, then the meeting is dominated by just a few people. The content of the meeting becomes very shallow, and it's a problem later on when people say they didn't actually agree. You also can't tell whether they're willing or not to follow the suggestion, so it's much easier for everybody if all those who attend the meeting participate.
Well, no particular reason, but by talking you can pass on your views and you feel more positive and conscious that you're participating. And as a result, I think there's better teamwork.
If you don't communicate with others, they won't know about your abilities, and as a result, nobody will pay attention to your work. This is not the right behavior for any employee to adopt. Of course, you need to be bold in order to voice your opinions or problems. However, if you talk positively, people will be interested in you and your work. You will gain confidence and will participate more actively, and this is very important for teamwork. The purpose of a meeting is to hold discussions and obtain the views of all those present, and then to arrive at a final decision. So you must express your views and discuss ideas with everyone. That is why it is important to participate actively in discussions and meetings.
Why is active participation in meetings important? 1. It is the duty of every worker to express his views, ideas, or grievances. 2. If you participate positively, you will gain more confidence and establish better rapport with your colleagues. 3. During meetings, better solutions can be reached if everyone participates actively. Points on expressing yourself in meetings. 1. Think clearly about what you want to say and keep it brief. 2. Make your points clear so that everyone understands what you want to say. 3. Don't interrupt the other speakers. 4. You must listen to the other speakers. 5. Don't hesitate to talk, but remember not to get emotional.
However much ability you may have, it is useless if you cannot use it to the full. If you are not healthy, you cannot play your role properly,
You will feel miserable, and the people around you will worry about you. You should adopt a positive attitude towards your work. Take it as a challenge. Your health is important as it affects your performance.